The moment I saw my credit score drop 200 points overnight, I knew exactly who did it and what I did next. Let's just say she never saw it coming. Sarah and I had been best friends since college, 11 years. She was the maid of honor at my wedding, the first person I called when my daughter was born. We shared everything, vacations, secrets, even our Netflix password. But there was one thing I didn't know we were sharing, my entire identity. It started small, a declined credit card at Target. I thought it was a bank glitch. You know how that goes. Called the bank, they said my balance was fine, must have been a system error. I forgot about it. Then the letters started coming. A credit card statement from a Capital One account I never opened. An overdue notice for a Macy's store card, in my name, sent to an address I'd never lived at. I called Capital One first. "Ma'am, you opened this account 6 months ago." I didn't. "The application has your social security number, your date of birth, your mother's maiden name." Everything matched. Everything was right, except I never applied. I pulled my credit report that night. What I found made my stomach drop. 7 accounts. 7 credit cards and loans I never applied for. Total debt, $43,000. In my name. Someone had been systematically destroying my credit for 8 months. They had my social, my mother's maiden name, my previous addresses, everything you'd need to become me on paper. I filed a police report the next morning. The detective was sympathetic but honest. Identity theft cases take years to resolve, and we rarely catch the person. He gave me a stack of FTC forms and a phone number for the credit bureaus. But here's the thing about identity theft. The thief needs to know you, really know you. Mother's maiden name, previous addresses, the name of your first pet, which was my security question at 3 different banks. I sat at my kitchen table at 2 a.m., going through every person in my life who would know all of that. My parents, my husband, my sister, and Sarah. Sarah, who had helped me fill out my mortgage application 2 years ago, where I'd written my social security number right in front of her. Sarah, who knew my mother's maiden name because she'd met my mom 100 times. Sarah, who had house sat for us and had access to our filing cabinet. No, it couldn't be her. Not Sarah. Not 11 years of friendship. I wanted to be wrong. I really did. So I did something I'm not proud of. I logged into the Capital One account using the information the bank had given me during the dispute process. The mailing address on the account? 4412 Birch Lane, apartment 3B, Sarah's mother's address. I checked the other 6 accounts. 3 used Sarah's mom's address. 2 used a P.O. box. 1 used an address I didn't recognize, so I looked it up. It was Sarah's boyfriend's apartment. Every single account traced back to Sarah's circle. Not mine. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I did something smarter. I called a lawyer. He said I had a strong case, but that proving it in court would require evidence beyond the addresses. I needed Sarah to admit what she'd done. So I set a trap. I told Sarah I was having a girls' night at my house, just the 2 of us, wine, movies, like old times. What she didn't know was that I'd installed 3 hidden cameras, 1 in the living room, 1 in the kitchen, 1 covering the hallway to my home office. Then I did something calculated. I left a fake bank statement on my kitchen counter, one I'd printed showing a new savings account with $85,000 in it. I also left a sticky note next to it with a fake login and password. The bait was set. Sarah came over on Friday. We drank wine. We laughed. It felt almost normal, except I was watching her eyes every time she walked past that counter. At 11 p.m., she said she needed to use the bathroom. The bathroom is upstairs. The kitchen counter is between the living room and the stairs. The camera caught everything. She stopped. She looked at the statement. She picked it up. She read every line. Then she pulled out her phone and took a photo of the fake login credentials. But I didn't stop there. The next morning, I invited Sarah to brunch. This time, I was recording on my phone, audio only, in my purse, which is legal in my state. Over eggs and coffee, I started casual. Hey, so I've been dealing with this identity theft thing. It's been a nightmare. I watched her face. She was good, concerned expression, sympathetic nods. The worst part, I said, is that the police traced all the accounts to someone I know. Her fork stopped mid-air, just for a second. Then she recovered. Oh my God, who? They haven't told me yet, but they said they're making an arrest next week. There was no arrest coming. Not yet, but Sarah didn't know that. That's terrifying, she said. What if it's someone close to you? I know, I said. That's what keeps me up at night. 2 days later, Sarah called me crying. I need to tell you something. I did something terrible, and I'm so sorry. She confessed everything. The credit cards, the loans, the $43,000. She said she'd been struggling financially after losing her job, and it spiraled. I recorded every word. I gave the recordings and the camera footage to my lawyer, who gave them to the police. Sarah was arrested 2 weeks later. She was charged with identity theft, fraud, and larceny. Felony, charges that carry up to 15 years in my state. She pleaded guilty to avoid trial. She got 3 years probation, mandatory restitution of the full $43,000, and a felony on her permanent record. My credit took 2 years to fully recover. I spent hundreds of hours on the phone with credit bureaus, banks, and collection agencies. The emotional toll was worse. I questioned every friendship, every relationship. How do you trust someone again after your best friend steals your life? But here's what I learned. The best revenge isn't rage, it's patience, it's evidence, it's letting someone think they've gotten away with it right up until the moment they haven't. Sarah and I haven't spoken since her arrest. Last I heard, she moved to another state. I hope she's doing better. Genuinely. But I also hope she learned that karma doesn't forget. It just waits for the right moment. If you've been through something like this, know that you're not alone and you're not crazy. Document everything. Call a lawyer and trust your gut, even when it points to someone you love. See you in the next one.